meeting to order, 6:31. Roll call, please.
Wait for the music to start. All right, here we go. Commissioner Evans,
Here.
Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Here.
Commissioner Gadd,
Here.
Mayor Ah.
Here. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open it up to general public input, limited to 10 minutes, 3 minutes per speaker.
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. I will have comments in the action agenda portion, but not this portion. I'm not sure, because typically it says not in the public comment part for action agenda, but I do have comments in the action agenda part, just so you know.
Any other general public input? See none. Planning commissioners disclose conflicts of interest.
None.
Now, moving on to approve tonight's agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gadd,
Yes.
Mayor Ah.
Yay.
All in favor?
Public agenda, item 2A, 2024-08-1230, North Oak Drive vacation rental.
Yes, I'll try and talk as loud as I can, because I know this microphone's not super loud tonight. This is a request from Sherry and Charles Plowman. Sherry's on Zoom, but for some reason her microphone's not working, so maybe we can do some sign language if we have questions. Sherry, you can also email me if you want me to disclose anything beyond what my staff report says. But this is a request at 1230 North Oak Drive. It's for a new vacation rental at that property. The property is approximately 1.45 acres in size. The town of Bayfield does allow vacation rentals in this zone as long as they meet all the standards of our vacation rental section 410 of the land use code. And I did spell that out later in the staff report of what the requirements are. We do allow 30 vacation rentals right now in the town limits, and they can't be closer than 500 feet apart. We have 4 legal vacation rentals that have approvals, and they all 4 are on Mill Street, and they all 4 are have been there before the 500-foot rule. So there are 2 together right here. Beamer's old properties on Mill Street. I don't know the addresses. And then the Moody's on Mill Street has 2 as well. So those are the only 4 legal vacation rentals in the town. We do know from time to time that we have illegal ones, and when we can locate them, we do try and reach out and let them know that they're in the process for a vacation rental, or they need to close them down. But I do know from time to time there are, especially as the summer comes up, you'll probably see some more that do not realize or care that they might. So this is a request for, like I said, 1230 North Oak Drive. The applicant does meet the criteria in the land use code for a use by review. Vacation rentals or use by review. Planning commission makes the approval or denial, and it only goes to the board of trustees if it's approved. Otherwise, the decision is made at the planning commission level. There's criteria A through H, and I did provide some input on that criteria for vacation rentals. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. And then, like I said, I spelled out section 410 and all the requirements. Because this vacation rental is a standalone unit that's been there for a period of time, we did have our building inspector go ahead and look at it before they applied, just because sometimes I've seen in the past where they've needed so many improvements to meet code that they decide they don't want to do it. So I wanted to make sure that Sherry knew going in what would be required, and it was pretty minor. Dan said that, Dan Naaman, our building inspector, said it was in good shape and just need a few minor things like, I believe the, fire, extinguishers and things like that. So pretty minor things that they can put in there. Otherwise, he didn't see any issues with the unit being used as a vacation rental. So I do have, some possible motions for you. There's a motion to approve, motion to, deny, or motion to continue the item, with finding that it, meets the use by review criteria, and the conditions that it does need, the building inspector, so we'll just need to confirm that, she put in what was required by Dan before we give them a vacation rental permit, and that, they need to have a business license as well. And then vacation rentals are required to be, every year annually submitted, and then staff can continue to approve them, but we just want to make sure that they're still operating as approved. We still have all the contact information, and so we every year require them to reapply, but it's pretty minor, and staff does those checks and approvals, so they don't need to come back to the planning commission. If they change ownership, vacation rentals are not transferable. So when the property sells, the vacation rental goes away, and the new owners would have to reapply if they wanted to continue it. So they're only for the person that lives in that property at that time. I'm happy to answer any questions that the planning commission has, and then this is a public hearing as well.
Public comments on this item?
My comments are reading through the land use code, which hopefully you all have looked over. There is a clause in there that says 2 persons per bedroom plus 2 more people. To me, the 2 extra people is a bit excessive. If it's a 3-bedroom, that's 6 people right there, and 2 more would be 8 people. That's a potential for 2, 3, 4 cars, more coming and going out of one residence. So I don't agree with the 2 extra person rule that you have in place under the land use code. Just a comment. I'm not opposed to vacation rentals. I think it's a good idea. So having said that, these are more comments that I think would improve the regulations. My other comment is contact numbers for the owners of the vacation rentals. Because as a neighbor to one, if there was a problem with one of the renters, what do I do?
You call the
Do I
police.
call the police?
Yes.
Is that, because it's not mentioned in the code of really what our options are if we have a problem with a vacation rental and we're a neighbor. Obviously, you want to talk to them first of all, but I guess as Commissioner Evans says, you just call the police and let them deal with it. So that would be my other comment. Is there a way that there's a public address number on vacation rentals? If you did have an issue, maybe you didn't call the police on those kinds of things because they're 24/7 kind of issues. So obviously, a lot of them are after hours. And the other is monitoring the rentals themselves. Who's in charge of actually monitoring them? I understand we have a on-call engineer that may inspect them to begin with, but ongoing, who's responsible for that? And how do we follow up with it? And I guess importantly also, who monitors the income from these? How do we know what they're making? How often they rent them? Is there some sort of officer who is in charge of that? So I would hope that we have some way to actually monitor these vacation rentals as they come up. Thank you.
Nicole, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
On the, is it 2 extra people per bedroom or 2 extra people per?
So it's 2 per bedroom and then 2 extra. And usually that's because somebody might have like a couch bed.
That's
and
what I was
maybe you
thinking,
put the kids out
pull-out
there or
couch.
something like that. That's kind of where that came from.
Okay.
And I can, if we have any more comments, I'm taking notes, and then I can try and address as many of those questions as I can.
Mike, one question is for the Ms. Plowman I know, I understand that your microphone's not working, but where is your primary residence, ma'am?
She lives at that property, so she will be on the same property as this unit. It's a second unit on the
Okay.
property.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Sherry? Yes.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually when they ask for a license, you have to have the owner have their name so that you have that on file, so that if they were to call you, if you were to call to find out who the owner was, they could give you that number, or can you?
I don't normally, but it is a public record. I mean,
Right.
Once they apply and it's on the applications, you can do a CORA request, a Colorado Open Records request, and you can get information. But I would go back to what Commissioner Evans said, is if there's a concern with noise, the police.
Right, they're the first
we would
ones to call.
them anyway for any noise complaint in the town. If it's a trash issue, then,
Parking
call in
issue.
staff, and we can make sure that we work with the property owner. So there's a lot of things that staff could work with the property owner on.
Right.
Because they have a permit, and permits are revocable.
Right.
This is not a by right use, so they do need to meet the requirements, and we can continue to work with them if it's those type of complaints. But if it's a complaint that the police need to get involved in, then the police need to be.
It goes straight to the
involved,
police, right.
especially after hours complaints. But if it's like their trash is overflowing every time, then we can work with the property owner to
Or
try
if
to
he had
solve it.
water sprinkler running, he would be able to contact you and you could say, yeah, just call him.
Yeah. So there's certain things that, and then we also we require them to have a list posted in the unit of all the emergency numbers, as well as the property manager or the property owner. In this case, for the 2 units that you're having today, the property owners are within the 30 miles, which is what our code says. So we could reach out to them unless they have a property manager. And all those have to also be posted in the unit, so the actual renters know who to call if there's issues as well.
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. If the police are called on an issue, does that record it somewhere?
Yes.
It comes back to who?
The police record, excuse me, go ahead and answer it if you want.
The police do keep record of all of their call-outs. And so I think where we'll have to communicate is I need to make sure that they know that these are vacation rentals, and if there is a complaint, they should let me know as well, so that we can follow up on it. So I will make sure that.
In addition, law enforcement is the only individuals that have any authority to correct any things at the immediate time. So contacting and I'm hesitant to use, but just burdening the property owner at that time is the only people who have the authority to address the issue is law enforcement, and to coordinate directly with the property owner. And independently of that, I'm kind of opposed, of course, CORA is CORA and it's public record, but of publicly publishing people's personal numbers.
It's not good.
The correct avenues is to contact the city, have the city coordinate that, or have law enforcement do that process. I just don't believe that we as the city or as the people in this city want their personal phone numbers just readily accessible to people in the community, good or bad. It's just that's something that the individual has a right of protection to.
And then in terms of just who monitors them, so again, we require them to apply every year so that we can make sure they're still in compliance. And then at that time, we would go back through if we had received complaints and note that. And it's something that I could bring back to the planning commission and say, this vacation rental had 10 complaints this year. I would like you guys to maybe revisit this, or, so there's different things that we can do, again, because the permits are revocable. They're not a by right permit. They do need to meet the criteria to remain as in good standing for their permit. So that's how we would monitor. And again, if we hear complaints about trash or things like that, we would try and do those as we can. And then who monitors the income? So they are required to get a sales tax and also with the state. And they're required to remit. We don't have lodging tax in Bayfield, but the county collects lodger's tax, so they're required right now. All our lodger's tax right now, just so everybody knows, since we don't collect lodger's tax, goes to the county, and the county will collect the lodger's so they are required to remit that to the county as well. And then we track the business license. And then, we don't collect sales tax. The state collects our sales tax, but we just monitor the business license.
No, it's not.
Well,
All rental sites and everything essentially act as a broker and produce all tax documents and everything, because they do take an overhead charge as well for documenting all those things as
Yeah.
well. So
If they
there
use
is a
those-
public record that's filed by VRBO, Airbnb, whoever those entities are, and because they are making a profit and required to report their earnings as well, and subsequently do that so for the property owner. So yes, just all of our taxes is based on the honor system, but eventually it will get caught up to you at some point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, as long as, if they use those bigger websites, the VRBO and Airbnb, then they track how many nights they're renting and all of that as well. Ooh, the lodge, 5-something. Do you know Durango's lodger's tax? It's 5-something. Yeah, I don't know the exact number.
Nicole, it seems like we've approved more than 4 in the last few years. Is it just people not
So-
renewing permits, or?
Yes, so Jackie Moreland did not renew hers. She turned hers into a long-term rental. And then the, I don't remember the address, the 990, the ones next to Jackie, the 2 that Beamer Thornton owned, Beamer sold those, and the new owner had to come back in and get reapproval because, again, they're not transferable. So you've seen those you've seen those twice now because of that. And that's all we have on record. So any others are no longer
There was
up to
one in
date.
Dove Ranch.
Dove Ranch is not allowed to have a VR because of their CCNRs, or specifically, even though they don't have an HOA, they still have CCNRs that they have to abide by, and their CCNRs.
enforce it?
Well, so the town, what we will do is we will not enforce CCNRs, but we don't go against them when we know what they say. So because I know Dove Ranch does not allow them, I wouldn't bring one to the planning commission unless the Dove Ranch CCNRs change. So again, the next one you'll see is Mesa Meadows. Mesa Meadows CCNRs does not prohibit them, but Dove Ranch does.
Do we allow midterm rentals?
What does that mean?
Like a furnished finder is another one that has more than 30 days, like Phoenix does
No.
more than 30 days.
So our vacation rentals are less than 30 days. And
Right.
so if it's more than 30 days, that's a long-term rental, and we do not get involved in long-term rentals in the town. So it's just a short-term rental.
Right.
That we permit.
in the state of Colorado, you run into eviction issues with that.
Yeah.
Once you get past a certain period of time, you run into having to evict
It's
people.
30 days is
Yeah,
what,
and the state has tenant landlord rules, and that's the state's thing. The town does not get involved in those. I think I got all of Brian's.
was that all the questions you had on that? Did we answer all of them for you? Okay.
I know, Sherry, you can't really speak, but do you have anything you want to add? You want to, okay. Just making sure.
Moving on to 2B 2024-09, 629 Louisiana Drive vacation rental.
Yes, so this is Nicole Johnson, and I know she's present. And this, again, I'm not gonna go through all the vacation rental criteria again, but, quarter acre lot, this is the R10 zone. This is in Mesa Meadows, and I did questions about the, CCNRs, and I did review them very carefully. And the Mesa Meadows CCNRs actually refer to the annexation agreement for that subdivision, and when you open the annexation agreement, it says anything in the R10 zone, so it's just R10 zone. Well, our R10 zones, we allow vacation rentals, so there's nothing that actually prohibits them in the Mesa Meadows CCNRs or the annexation agreement. Again, this is the first one in this area that's been permitted. It's going through the process legally. I can't say if there's any that are not permitted in there, but this one is, again, located at 629 Louisiana Drive. And I won't go through all the criteria, but I did kind of address the criteria A through H. and include the vacation rental criteria. We did not do an inspection of this one because it's a single-family home that's relatively newer, so we assume that it's gonna meet the codes for the most part, but before we issue a final vacation rental permit, we do need to have our building inspector just go in there and make sure it meets the criteria spelled out in our section 410 when it comes to the life safety requirements. And then again, they will also need to get a business license as well before we would issue the permit. Happy to answer any questions that you have of this one.
Ma'am, what's your primary residence? Okay. No, that's fine, ma'am. I just look for whether we have an outside investor or and someone local to the community is just a personal question I have. Thank you, ma'am.
Can you state your name and your address for the record?
Yeah, Nicole Johnson, 69 Louisiana Drive.
Thank you.
Open up to public comment. Moving on to action agenda. Item 3A, approval of the April 9th, 2024 minutes.
I move to approve the April 9th, 2024 minutes.
I second.
Item 3B, 2024-08.
We want to do a vote
Oh,
on the
sorry.
minutes, sorry. I was waiting.
Back up, do roll call for item 3A.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gadd,
Yes.
Mayor Ah.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Now, item 3B, 2024-08, 1230 North Oak Drive vacation rental.
I want to raise a motion to approve action item 3B 2024-08 at 1230 North Oak Drive vacation rental with no additional conditions as stated. Sorry.
Finding and conditions. Were in here.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't print that part out.
There's one finding and 2 conditions.
With one finding and 2 conditions. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate your clarification.
I second it.
Ready?
Roll call, please.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gadd,
Yes.
Mayor Ah.
Yay.
Thank you.
Item 3B, 2024-09, 629 Louisiana Drive vacation rental.
I make a motion to approve the 2024-09629 Louisiana Drive vacation rental with the conditions,
Findings and conditions.
findings and conditions, excuse me. Thank you.
And I will second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gadd,
Yes.
Mayor Ah.
Yay.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I just want to let Nicole and Sherry know I'll just get in touch with you for next steps.
Item 3B, Planning Commission appointment recommendations.
Yes, so, as you all are aware, we did lose 2 planning commissioners to the Board of Trustees, so congratulate to them, but that does give us 2 spots open. And so the Planning Commission does make a recommendation, and then the Board of Trustees ultimately appoints the planning commissioners. We did put an advertisement out, and we did receive 2 applicants. Both of them are local in the town limits, so they meet our residence requirement. And then we have 2 terms that are being replaced right now. Matt Nyberg's term was from 2022 to 2026, and then Commissioner Cash Snurks was from 2020 to 2024. And so we do have to replace in those terms, knowing that the terms expire in October, that the person that expires in 2024 does have the ability to reapply and ask to be reappointed. But we need to keep those terms, that way we can stagger appointments and we're not losing a whole commission all at one time. And so I think I'll just go ahead and let Charlene and Jim just kind of introduce themselves. And Charlene's first in the packet, so we'll let Charlene go. Introduce themselves to you and answer any questions that you might have of them. So, yeah.
Hi guys, excuse me, long day on the phone today. Charlene Thomas, I live at 523 Hickory Ridge. I recently just left the Town of Trustees board, so I want to give back in another way. So I do, I'm a commercial loan officer for Southwest Bank, so I have a lot of experience with construction and just businesses in general. I have 2 kids that go to school here. I love our little town. So, any questions for me?
I'm excited we have another woman.
Glad to have you on board.
Yeah.
Jim Tenza, 490 Sunflower Lane, I gotta remember that address now. I think, as I said in my letter, I've spent 9 years on the County Planning Commission, 6 as the chairman. I learned a thing or two, but a lot of people, there's still a few people in the county that think I'm dumb, which is okay. You know, we always went with, if 50% objected to what you did, we're good today. I own a couple of businesses here in town and a building here in town. Now that I'm a resident, I want to give back. I want to, contribute to the community. So there you have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we do want to get a formal recommendation that we can get to the Board of Trustees. So I'll let you guys, if you have any questions as staff, I'm happy to answer those. I did include your bylaws that were updated, I believe, in 2022. Just so you all refresh your memory on those as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
I'd like to raise a motion to approve both of the applicants for position. Do we have to designate who gets what spot?
I'll be happy to take the one that ends in October so I can reapply. That's how I did the other one. That's how I got 9 years. 8 years.
So,
So I would, maybe a recommendation to the board that you, they appoint Charlene Thomas for the term of 2022 to 2026 and Jim Tenza for the term of 2020 to 2024. Does that sound good?
so I'm going to raise a recommendation for the Board of Trustees to appoint, as stated by Nicole, for the term limits as stated.
Did you get that, Kristen?
Yep. I
Thank you.
second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gadd,
Yes.
Mayor Ah.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It'll be in front of the board next week. Jim, it'll be in front of the board next Tuesday, the 21st.
Item 4A, May 16th, 2024, agricultural zone community meeting.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about this because I've had a couple questions. So when we did our comprehensive plan update last year, for the first time, we included an agriculture element or chapter. And part of our working group's thoughts on this was, what makes Bayfield unique? We don't want to be Durango. We don't want to be Pagosa. We don't want to be Ignacio. What makes Bayfield unique? And it's our agriculture heritage. And so how do we embrace that? And we really wanted to concentrate on that in the comprehensive plan. And one of the things I've had a few even ag owners reach out and say, we'd really like to be annexed into the town and do some unique ag businesses. That's just really hard to do through the county process. And so I said, well, we're looking at ag zone as part of our comprehensive plan. And so we're gonna meet on Thursday. We've invited everybody in our comp plan area that's not in the town limits. So I think we sent 290 letters out. inviting them to just come, and really we want to hear from them what they would like to see if we did have an ag zone. What's going to be important to them for something like an ag zone if they're interested in even annexing into the town. What do they want to get out of their property in the next 5-10 years, keeping it ag, but what other types of what I would call accessory uses to the ag being the primary use that they would like to really consider as part of this zone. We know water, Katie and I have been talking about this, we know water is going to be a huge issue. The point of this is not to take people's water, especially if they're in an ag zone, they need their water. The point is to just help them kind of expand their use a little bit. And so unless somebody wants to annex and develop residential, then yes, we work with them on water rights. But if they're going to remain agriculture, you know, that's not the intent for the town to go in and take water rights. And so really just explaining that and just really like a listening session. What do they want to get out of an ag zone? Because I don't know enough about ag zone. I need to hear from them and then go back and do some research and maybe answer some of their questions. So I just wanted to give a little bit more input on what that meeting's about.
Thank you.
Yep. It starts at 6 o'clock and it's here, and it's this Thursday.
4B, May 21st, 2024 is the next Board of Trustees meeting. 4C, June 11th, 2024 is the next Planning Commission meeting. And I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
Thank you all.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So I told Brian, once we get a full board seated,
Yes.
or commission seated,
You
then
don't
we'll
make a motion, you move.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we're gonna change it to right.
Official what?
Thank you.
Maybe it's like the Twilight Zone or something. Maybe it's all alternate reality or something. You know what I mean? 'Cause I'm
Yeah,
talking
right? You're like,
Kristen,
no.
Corey, and I'm like,
There's no way.
I don't know. So I'm fine with it.
Ah.
That was 37 minutes. So the last one was 7 minutes.
Oh. Yes. Don't tell anyone. We love it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've been using old rich deal and everything. I'm like, okay, well, I can't switch yet. That's why I brought it up. I'm like, whatever.